Hello there. Let's put on some Lofi. I don't feel too well at the moment, but I'm surviving. I got me some throat lozenges. Oh, hello. How do you say your name? Was that Djik? Djik? 1, 2, 3. How's it going, man? Yeah, I can really feel my throat. What happened, bro? What happened, bro? Or do you mean like what's happening? We're just making cool things as we always do. I'm gonna get this into Zbrush today, I think. Something I'm doing before getting in is capping all the faces that usually you want deleted. When you're making a when you're making something that collides with something else, I'll actually show you this quick for anyone who's gonna join halfway through. No, come this way. Whenever you like make something, like say you got this and you got like this pipe. Let's say a pipe comes off it, right? And it is connected to this. Get a nice smooth on that with a auto smooth. The face that you don't need here, right, is this one here. Because it's colliding with something. So if you delete that face in there, we're saving that face, getting rid of it. Don't need to UV map it. Don't need to do anything with it now because it's inside the object. However, when you come into ZBrush, the way it smooths things without faces, it kind of pulls them away. So I'm actually going through my object and fixing by capping all these faces that I wouldn't usually cap. I'm just doing that at the moment. Do these have faces on the back like this? I'll have to... Oh, this one's going to be a bit more awkward, actually. Because if I cap this, we're going to get a really weird shape, right? Yeah. No, center, I guess. That should be fine. And then I'll come back in. How did you make this? It's amazing, mate. Oh, I've streamed all of it, so if you jump back, you'll be able to see. Uh-oh. Why is the skull not on the other side? Interesting. It's not my idea. If you look at the top right, it's someone else's concept art. So I'm not very good at making my own ideas. I just grab someone else's concept art usually and make it. Or I'll make something in real life and maybe change his art style and stuff. Like the Simpsons scene I'm making recently. I don't have an up-to-date picture of it, but... Uh-oh. Like this one. I have not worked in any game that's released at the moment. I work in a company at the moment, but unfortunately I've not worked in any released projects. I'd love to, at some point. Well, I'd love that my company to release a game soon, but... Here's hoping. So this guy's interesting because I need to import him. Oh, he's already quite high poly. Oh my god, he's very high poly. Interesting. We're getting like lag issues. I can see my camera going funky. Is he fine? That's the one we're looking for. So you have creativity, but you don't know Blender. Yeah, when it comes out, so I don't have very much creativity, but when it comes down to making things, it's like, obviously you need the creative side, but at least that part can all be learned, right? Like, I'm not very creative, I'm not very artistic. I say that I'm not a very good artist because I don't have a lot of the natural talents you would need to be a good artist, but I know how to do all the technical stuff. I know how to use Blender, ZBrush, Unreal Engine, all that, and I know how to take advantage of that to make things without being creative. I am, unfortunately, as much as you say in demand, it took me 6 years to find a job. So, unfortunately, I am not in demand as much as I'd love to say I was. Oh. Okay, Blender. Just crashed on me. I ain't done anything yet. Cover, autosave. Blender has really, really good autosaves that you can send to cover the entire thing. So I want to get this skull. Oh, we're on local. Right, I want to go global. Oh, here, and then I want to go increments. There you go. So I've made backup versions, as you can see across the map. Oh, it's rotated around the center point there. I'll have to do that manually. So I can grab them, bring them back in. Rotate them. I have no idea how much is rotated, but I can do that. Then rotate it perfectly aligned with this. Like so. There you go. Now we've got the skull back. Okay, so this, the actual low poly is this. And that's going to get baked into this. Now, I'm not sure how I want to do that. It's kind of a few ways. The way I'm doing these skulls, which I might test now, actually, is we're going to export 2 versions of these skulls, right? We're going to go this version, which I'm going to have a... I wonder if I need what I've been doing to a... oh, God. Oh, no. I don't want to... Delete keyframe. So if I export those out... Oh, it's not going to be in the right spot, is it? We can have a go. Give it a separate material. File. Export. Skull. Low poly. Are there any specific Blender add-ons you use to make this? Just so we can follow along. No, I don't really use any add-ons. I prefer not to use as many add-ons as I can. In ZBrush, I have some custom brushes, which are actually orb brushes, which are completely free to begin with. So very, very good brush pack. It's just super useful for making stylized stuff if you're into making stylized stuff like this. Yeah. But it's completely free. You can donate if you feel like it's worth it. And it's probably my favorite. Well, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really an add-on person, so I don't have stuff that I can really compare it to. People have told me, oh, in Blender, you got to use unwrapping tools, add-ons and stuff. You don't need to use any of that. You can use Blender as it is, with no extra tools, and you should be able to make most things you want. Add-ons can make it a little bit faster, but it's not necessary. The way I look at it is if I get called into a company and they're like, oh, Steve, do an art test, and I sit down at a PC that they've presented me and it doesn't have any of the add-ons I have, I'm going to say, oh, can I download all these add-ons? And if they say no, how am I going to do my art test if I'm relying on all these add-ons? That's how I like to look at it. Now, a lot of people probably say that's a terrible way to look at it. You should use add-ons if it makes you more comfortable. And I don't disagree with that. I just think you shouldn't rely on add-ons. You should be able to at least do it without add-ons first. And then you can use add-ons to speed up your workflow. Skull, low poly. So I don't think this is actually going to work. Let's set up substance real fast. Unfortunately, you can't make a lot of this stuff too fast. If you look at some of my past streams, I tend to take 3 to 5 hours on an asset when I'm making a single asset. Environments take a long time, because if you think about it, if you need to make 20... Well, this take a long time to load. If you need to make, let's say, 50 assets for an environment, which is quite a low number to begin with, if you spent 5 hours per asset, that's 250 hours. That's not including constructing the environment either, but let's pretend it is. 250 hours, if you spend 20 hours a week in your spare time on it, that's what? 250 divided by 20, that's 12 and a half weeks on a project that's only got 50 assets, and that's not even including constructing the environment. That's just the prop making. So 12 and a half weeks is a significant amount of time. You could obviously dedicate 40 hours a week if you want, which will give you 6 and a quarter weeks, for example. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, it's really fun to come in and try to go, oh, I want to be fast at this. And you can, especially when you're making one asset. Like I said, I tend to spend, if you go to my YouTube channel and you go, like, time lapse, you can make a couple assets. You can make assets relatively fast. Let's look at this one. This is a good example. So this one, I think, was a 4-hour project. I think it was split into 2 days, actually. You can see I've just quickly thrown pieces together. I go into ZBrush with what I've made. I start doing high detail on it. I mean, I'm talking to the chat at the same time too, because I always stream these. You can't even see the whole thing, but well. And then, yeah, I come back in, restart the UV maps. And then I come into it and start texturing it. For some reason on its side, it's because ABJs always used to come in on their sides. That was the concept I was using. I get it into a quickly lit scene, and boom, we have a shield, you know? Oh, thank you for posting the Patreon and Twitch. My moderator right there. Yeah, so it's like one of those things that's, yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, I want to be really quick, I want to do it very fast, but sometimes things just take time, and it's hard to rush them. Because if you rush them, you're going to get lower quality. Lower quality, you're probably going to look at it when you've put it into your scene and go, ooh, I need to redo it, it's too low quality. So it's one of those things that taking the time is usually beneficial. Oh, you know what? I can't import these as a thingy, can I? I got a... See, I don't know if this is going to work. I hope it does. Otherwise, we're going to have it in a separate project or baked to separate materials, which is fine. But if I come into here and we go export this. That's one shape, cool. Export this and export this. And they're two separate materials, correct? Yes. Let's get rid of that one. Actually, let's not get rid of that one just in case. Two separate materials, file, export, FBX. So if we go Canon, low poly mirrored, I think that's the one I'm using. We come into here. Absolutely fantastic. I would like to use that Canon and sort of put it in a game. Well, would you like the stylized version or would you like the realistic version? Whoa. We were looking at how quickly you could throw realistic textures onto assets just Saturday. Configuration. Low poly mirrored, yeah. So, oh, it does work. Interesting. Oh, but it's not applied. Oh, right. The material is called Circle 00. Oh, right. It's a different project. There's a reason it's a different project. Because I brought it back over to a separate one because this is the one that comes from the Unreal comes from Zbrush when you export it. So I kept it as a separate thing. So what I should do is go File, Import, FBX, Skull Low Poly. Look, it's not in the right spot. For some reason, when you export it from Zbrush, it like moves it, and I don't know why. Cool. Let's go Export, FBX, Skull. No, did I just click Import? What's going on? On the game, I think animation is the hardest in gaming. That really depends. There's a lot of tools for animation. And it depends how good you want the animation to be. Animation can be very universal, modulated in a game, right? If you have a basic running, sprinting, jumping, crouching, sliding animation, that can then be attached to every single rig, or not even that. Every single person could go to the same rig, and then you could basically just make it so all those animations are completely universal. So animation is pretty difficult. I'm not putting it down. It's just same with art, same with anything. There's a lot of ways you can speed that up with modularity and everything. And to an animator, they may say that 3D art's the hardest because they can't do 3D art. You know, it comes down to what you find easier anyway. So now I want to get all of this. Hi, Steve. How's your weekend treating out? Not too bad. I'm kind of ill. Not too bad, though. My throat issue that I've had for like a year is worse at the moment because I think I got a sore throat and it just sort of elevated what I have wrong with my throat at the moment. So that's not brilliant, but other than that, not too bad. So what's the material that this has in it? Circle 1. Yeah, can I select skulls? And material 1. Okay, so that should work on the export. What we're trying to do here is allow me to export this without it breaking. So that way I can have 3 separate meshes, the cannon, the skulls, and the base. It's 3 different materials in Substance Painter. And the reason I want them to all come in into one Substance Painter document so I can bake information around each of them. So we can have shadows coming from the skulls and everything without it taking in all the baking information that we don't want to use. So if we go Canon base new. No, Canon mirror, right? Canon mirror. Why does it keep jumping down there? Try that one more time. It still moved. Slightly different, but it still moved. Can you stop? Is it because that... What? Is it because I somehow... No, it's not got any frames in it. Oh, it clearly does. What? How did I lock a frame on it by accident? Oh, there they are. Get lost. I have no idea how I did that. What's the button for frames? I don't remember doing that. All right. That looks like a good enough spot. We'll bring it down very slightly like this. Get rid of the transforms. Let's say this shouldn't have any transforms anyway. Export, FBX, like that. Cool. Now, who's messaging me? Project configuration, bring that in, and we should see those textures magically come back. Nice. And the skull should be separate. Now what do we want to do on top of that is come back into, let's see, we'll just use this version. And when I smooth it, we get the result we're looking for. That's what we want. We go, oh, is that what we want? Hold on a minute. No, it looks different. Get back into here then. Problem is it, for some reason, moves on the Zbrush export. And I don't know why. If I knew how to fix that, we wouldn't have this issue. But what we got going on is I got some sharpness here, right? If we actually turn that sharpness off, we'll see this nose never gets too smooth. We want it to have that sharp bit. I guess I could replicate what's going on there. Have we got any other sharp bits? I think that may be the only spot that does that. So I could actually just replicate that in here. Let's just... Oh, just... Here, 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 here. If we sharpen that... Oh, I've selected the middle piece. Whoops. We sharpen that up. We get a bit more of a sharper nose coming in. A little bit less than that, I'd say. Cool. Sweet. I could always get a little bit more sharpness on here. On here. Or maybe not. Cool. And we could get some around the eyes if we really want as well. So it's going to be our high poly bake. You were mentioning earlier you've got the entire process for this asset on your channel. Yeah, if you just scroll, go through my recent live stuff. I talk a lot, so it's not always just a process you might have to skip through. But if you go to my lives on my channel, you'll see up until... look at all these kind of videos. The first one was here. So we started making it a month ago, and we've just been adding to it little by little throughout the last month. We also played some games. And we were working... Oh, we're looking at my dogs on that one. We've kind of been a little all over the place. We were making the Simpsons scene. Took a little bit of a break on that because I wanted to make it with a better graphics card. And let's make those holes a bit more sharp. Sweet. So we're going to take this as our high poly. And hopefully I can come into here. I hope this works. Fingers crossed. We can come into here. Grab you. Actually, it doesn't really matter which layer I'm in, but whatever. We technically want the metal on it. So if we actually grab that metal from our other material, I should be able to copy it over. Are you okay, Substance? Jesus. What? I've only on 1K. Why are you so slow? We only want the metal, so... Hopefully it lets me copy, right? Yeah. And we white mask that. Cool, so it's not going to work fully yet because we need to bake it. So now let's try to bake it. So we're going to bake. So what I can do is I can tell it to just bake the skull. So bake material 1. And that should just be baking our skull. Now you can bake both of them at the same time. Sometimes you'll have issues. I wanted to see what it looks like if I bake it separately though. Oh, it's not working at all, is it? Why didn't that work at all? Hello. Bro, can you like each material in the model and give them different properties for damage? Yeah, you can do that. But it's just mild setups, how to get it to work. I want to figure out why that's not baked properly. I always have this problem. That was aligned. We've got this in the right spot. And we've got this, because it's the same thing. So if I set the whole thing and export that as a... Oh, wait, no, yeah. As a Canon mirror. Then select you, make you high poly. Select you as our high poly skull. Because if this doesn't work, I could just do it in a separate document. I just prefer to have it all in one, because it'd be nicer if I'm texturing the whole thing at once. So let's see why that's not worked. Did I... So this Canon base, we want... Skull H... Did I not click that originally? Hold on a minute, maybe that's why. Oh, was that why? Cool, that looks good now. So what it's doing is it's taking that high poly I just made, and it's baking it down. So if you actually look at the difference, so I can actually fix that up to look a bit better, because it's actually quite a clean material if you look at the original. If you look at... If it lets me click it. If you look at you, that skull is relatively clean. Jeez, I can't speak. So we want to get rid of the white bits on it. There you go. Excuse me. Much more subtle. Looks darker, does he not? I think I need to get rid of that one. Well, so what I want to try now... I've been doing 3D since I was technically 13 years old, so about 16 years, but I only really took it seriously when I went to university at 19. So that would make it... I'm 28 now, so that would make it 9 years properly taking it serious. But things have changed so much over time that I wouldn't say have that as a deterrent at all, because... like, everything's just changed. Look at when Substance Painter came out. Everything's just changed slowly of how all of this works. So if you actually look at the normals being removed from this, you can see the detail that gets changed. So you can actually see all that, like, smooth detail versus that. Now, it's actually not as high poly as I'd like. I don't know how I have a scratch on the front of it. That's interesting. But the problem is not baking them together. You're not going to get this. So what I could do is I could do this, add the high poly of the base on it as well, which is going to be high poly presumably. And if we bake that just on the skull, it should give us a shadowing on the back, because now it's got the whole asset to work with. Should. I'm not sure if it will work. It's just by theory it should work. So you should see in the ambient occlusion baking layer we're doing now that the back of it will slightly get some shadowing on it. Oh, it looked like it was working. Yeah, look at that. There you got this nice shadow on it. Now we can actually come back to our original one and do the same thing where we're baking it with the skull appearing on it when it loads. There you go. So if we go back into the bake on here and then rebake this, just this. We could technically bake both of them at once, but I want to do them separately just to make sure. Is using Substance Painter or alternative a industry standard now? Yes. Well, actually, you're commenting about hand-painted texture. No, you can still hand-paint textures. That's still very, very common. It's just Substance Painter offers so many different... Oh, so we're getting issues coming along here. That's very interesting. Oh, I want to itch my ear. My headset fell off. It's very, very common to still paint by hand. It's just, it depends what kind of style you're doing. If you can achieve the style just using Substance Painter, it's going to be much more of a standard in a company you go into that are going to get you to follow a specific art style guide. And if that style requires you to have Substance Painter, you're probably going to be, I don't want to say forced, but sort of pushed into using Substance Painter. Because I'll give an example, right? So I use Zbrush as my standard. So it's getting a bit of a weird thing there, but it still looks good from a distance. You just get like this weird normal forming here. But it still works. So that works pretty well. That's exactly what I was kind of looking for. To how Substance would sort of work with having both of them overlaying on top of each other. Because now when I get the cannon on top, I should be able to do the exact same thing. Have all three of them as separate meshes, but they bake together in Substance. Yeah, what I was going to say is, for example, if you have a very specific style, let's say you've got a very specific looking wood in all your scenes, right? Weird. Let's see your wood looks like this. Now, so look, what I could do, look, I could go, ooh, and get rid of that. Wow, it let me get rid of it, but it's lagging when trying to get it back in. And you go like, whoa. Wow, why does it keep lagging? There you go. Yeah, so for example, if you're like, oh, we want all the work to look the same, we want it to be sort of the same looking work across all our materials, they could give you what they call an art Bible where you got to follow it. And that art Bible could say, oh, when you make the texture in ZBrush, you need to do this to get the kind of look. And then you can bake that, right? So if you're like, stylized wood is a material I already have. If I throw that onto something, it will automatically do the wood for me, right? So as you can see, if I black mask that, we're going to select it. Boom. We have wood. Like, the reason that works so well in, for example, the industry, if you're making like 500 assets between a team of 20 artists, or let's say 10 artists, if you have these like smart materials already made out for you, it means you're not going to have all this clashing art style. Like if one of you do want to hand paint it, that might look drastically different than the standardized way you've got it in Substance Painter. So it really depends on the company, but some companies, I use MS Paint, like I realized. That's what I just read from someone saying, if you see the stream. It's not me saying that. Yeah, so it comes down to the company you work for. Some of them might say, yeah, hand paint everything. We want everything hand painted. Just try to make your hand painted stuff look like what we've got going on in the game. So it's just a big where you're working kind of thing. I want to say it's industry standard, but I only work at a small indie company. So it's hard for me to really say it's a complete standard. What is that? Is that just because I've added this? Oh, that's nice. Cool. I mean, most of the time, I'm just trying to replicate an art style. If we look at what I'm trying to replicate in this, we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely getting closer. I need some more smoother whites coming along the cross on the wood, and much more darker line undertones coming down here. So I could manually go do that. And because another thing is you need, like, I use Substance Painter, industry standard now. Oh, wait. No, sorry, I just read that. Because I want it to be... So another thing you got to think about is getting it standardized for games engines, right? Now, one of the big things that they like to do in the games engine is they like to have things mirrored, right? So if I paint here, this asset, if we look at it in 3D to 2D, is a mirrored asset. And that makes it so, for example, if I have a 1K map, if our object is doubled up, it's like we have a 2K map, because I've reduced that down drastically to a much smaller texture space. I know the Sims guys at EA use Photoshop still, but that kind of makes sense, true. And yeah, if I've got the whole thing mirrored, I'm now doubling up how much texture space I can have, right? Versus if I have it as not mirrored at all, I will have to go higher resolution on my textures. This is 1K. This is only a 1K texture. And the fidelity looks pretty good. I mean, that's all normals. Look, that is all normals. And ambient occlusion. And curvature. None of that actually exists. That's all just a flat object, right? If I say I want it to look more detailed, I can just jump up to 2K. But the thing is, because I've got it mirrored, my 1K kind of looks like a 2K right now. Something I really want to do that I've not done yet. So I want really harsh shadowing coming along here. We'll actually go into our wood material. I will also add, by no means am I top of my game in the industry. So if I'm saying some stuff and you've said, oh, but this artist said this, there's a very high chance they're probably more right over what I'm saying. At the end of the day, most of what I know about how to do 3D art was self-taught. So that always comes with its benefits, but always comes with its sometimes lack of knowledge on the topic. If you ask me for specific terms for things, I probably won't be able to tell you. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a terrible thing, like some people who have spoken to me in the past. Some people think me not knowing the terms for things is like a huge, like, oh, but you should know what this means, you should know what that means. And I'm just like, I feel like it's important to an extent, but I feel like just knowing a term isn't going to change how well you do something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm trying to think of an example now. Was that mip mapping? I remember someone getting mad at me for not knowing what mip mapping was. Mip mapping is just your textures, basically, in a very, very simple term, in layman's term, it's just your textures becoming less, a lower resolution as you get further away, because as they take up less pixels, so this is an optimization technique in the Unreal Engine, as they take up less pixels, they will go to lower resolution, right? So, for example, if your mip map broke and you're really close to an asset and it hadn't upscaled your resolution, it would look low res. I didn't know what mip mapping meant. I knew what the technique was, but I didn't know what mip mapping went. And he got really annoyed at me. And he's like, as an artist, you should know what mip mapping means. And I was just like, I was never taught. How am I supposed to know something if I was never taught it? So I'm like hand painting now. And this is to Morgan, for example. Oh my God, don't you know all the acronyms you 3D name? Right? Oh, the acronyms drive me mental. I remember when someone's like, oh, so all you got to do is the WPO to make it look more 3D or something like that. And I was like, that's more of an abbreviation anyway, right? Because an acronym has to actually make a word. WPO isn't a word. But it was like, and I was like, WPO. You had a WPO. And I was like, and he was like, well position offset. I was like, oh, well position offset. Why didn't you just say well position offset? I was like, oh, I thought you'd know what I meant with WPO. I was like, why would I know? Because I didn't even know he was talking about the Unreal Engine. So I was just like, WPO? Is this some weird, like, speech the kids are using these days? Like, BRB? I was so confused. But I'm completely, like I said, I think it's completely fine not to know all the terms. 3D art hipsters. Yeah, exactly. Don't you know? At the end of the day, I said this actually in the last stream, knowing all the terms, I think, is obviously, if you're in a team of people and you all know these terms, it will help quite a lot, right? Because you're going to be, oh, actually, I shouldn't have done a duplicate yet. You're going to, the more you know these terms, the more you're going to be able to quickly and snappily work together with things. Okay, Boomer. So if you're like, oh, can you just plug this into the WPL? I want to see the results we get in the editor. Oh yeah, okay, and he just try it and he knows exactly what he means, right? That's really good. If you know exactly, oh yeah, we've got this mirror, so I can just go a little bit this side, a little bit here. That's really good because obviously if you both know the terms, you can be really snappy and really quick with it. But at the end of the day, I teach random people on the internet how to do stuff. You know, if you've ever taught random people on the internet, or just people who aren't familiarized with 3D and 3D terms, you've got to break a lot of stuff down because people don't know what the terms are. You know, some people don't even know what a normal map is. It's just like, oh, a normal map is basically a map that just warps the lighting to make things look more 3D. It's not technically accurate, but that's a simple enough term that when I show someone the map, they'll go, oh right, I get it. Because look, if we disable a normal map, boom, you lose a lot of that 3D-ness. See what I mean? And then you can build up their understanding later. But when you're trying to introduce someone into 3D, it's really difficult to introduce them by telling them, hey, Funky Pants, to introduce them into 3D by just using all these complex terms and acronyms and abbreviations, because that's really off-putting when you want to learn anything new. You know, if you want to learn an instrument, sit someone down and show them how to play it. Don't start off by saying all these fancy words about how to play and stuff like that. That's going to draw someone's attention away from it so quickly. Nice to see the viewer count is growing. Oh, wow, yeah, we've got 15. That's very nice. Can you make the reference photo smaller? Sure. Oh, yeah. I forgot I scaled it up to show you guys something on it. Nah. We're going to make it bigger. Here we go. Nice. Now you can really see what I'm doing. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. At the end of the day, I've been trying to, quote unquote, teach. I've just been doing tutorials, so I wouldn't really say I'm a teacher, but I've been trying to help people do 3D on the internet for a decade or something now. So I just know what people want to. Well, I don't know what people are always going to want to hear, but I know what people are going to understand most of the time. And I know one thing that people don't want to constantly hear you say is all these complex terms, and they have no idea what you're talking about. Nobody finds that helpful when they're first starting. And I think some people just find that insulting because to them, they spent all that time learning these terms, and then you're just talking to them without using these terms. And it's like, no, I spent all this time learning. I want you to justify it by talking to me with all these terms. And I'm sitting there like, I don't even know what these terms are myself. At the end of the day, we want to be 3D artists because we enjoy the medium, right? We're not doing it because we want to, like... Well, some of us just want to do it for jobs, but I'd say that's much fewer than other jobs, right? A lot of people want to become lawyers and bankers and stuff like that because they know it's a lot of money in it. And some people may have a passion for it, but when it comes to art-related work, I feel like a lot of that is by people who are just passionate about it. So I feel like you should be more accepting when people don't want to learn terms and stuff because it's just their passion. They just want to have a bit of fun. I need that image up myself, or is it? Show us the skills, not the terms. Yeah, exactly. And like I've said, I don't want to put people down who do want to learn the terms. It is very important, especially if you work in the industry where they want you to learn all these terms, because it comes down at the end of the day to where you're working is what you're going to need to know. If where you're working is going to be like, we only want you to speak in terms, we only want you to use the art Bible, we only want you to do this and that, you just kind of got to suck it up and do it. But that comes down to where you're going, right? That's not always going to be the same everywhere. You know what? We're actually going to do a nice super hard. So that way there's no difference when I'm getting bigger and smaller, and then we'll smooth it afterwards. So I want to get like a stronger, it's like down here. So this is where a lot of hand painted stuff comes into handy. That sounds like a weird way of saying it. Comes in handy, there you go. Because a lot of people when they hear hand painted, they're obviously thinking, oh, photoshopping you hand painted textures, but that's not quite the case when it comes to 3D, because you can hand paint in all the softwares that allow you to do what I'm doing now. Cool. That's pretty much all we want. And then we just want to do a nice little smooth on it. Cool. Now I also want to invert this, turn the brush down. I want to get a bit more of a smoothness around. Oh, it's a bit harder than I thought it was going to be. Let's turn down the size of this. There you go. Manual smoothness on that. And then we're going to turn this. I don't know if we want it on a multiply. We don't want it wet, to tell you that much. And then we can tone that color down to be a bit more red. Be around there. More red. Probably around there, yeah. And then we can also make like a duplicate of this. Oh. Wow, my computer's running really slow today. And we could try to emphasize some of the other dark spots. Like we've got a nice dark spot coming down here. Some of them coming across here. So one big difference between what's going on? Why can't I paint? Okay. One big difference between 3D and obviously a 2D concept. 2D concept is a set lighting. You're not going to see it obviously move. Whereas when it comes to 3D, we're going to see lighting move. So you don't always want to paint on a lot of your shadows because that's going to all move anyway. I'm more just painting dark spots in, I believe, more the wood material rather than shadows. See, this one's like super dark. even though the other creases aren't so dark. But it's just to help break up some of that. Like over here, I've got mirroring on. Whoops. Over here, I don't want mirroring on. It looks like a lot of this is just like a darker tone. Let's okay, my hardness is down. Let's turn up the brush size. Blur a little bit and have it so it just sort of becomes a bit of a patchiness. There you go. So we got changing color a little bit as we go along. Now the top part has a lot more lighter parts to it. Now I feel like it's going to be dark, really difficult because we've already got it quite light. So I don't know how much we're going to be able to emphasize that lightness anymore. But we want like a patchiness here. Now we want this to be underneath that fade we had. Same with this one. We want it to be underneath this fade. There you can see that fade come in. And then yeah, we just got like this nice lightness here. There's a bit here. Comes like that. We actually got some what looks like a bit of darkness here. Got a bit of darkness coming around here. There's a huge amount of darkness here. In fact, there's so much that I might even grab some more of this too. Kind of like a second layer of darkness we got going on. Like that. There you go. That gives us a nice bit of color. Again, some of it's down to shadowing. Some of it's down to other bits. It just really depends how you interpret it. Because when you're doing 3D, I've worked with a nice handful of concept artists at this point. And when it comes to like working with concept art and concept artists and just working with concept art you find online, you'll notice a lot that you got to take a pretty big handful of stuff into with like I guess like a pinch of salt, because when they're doing their job they're not going to take into consideration all the 3D side it might take up, and that's fine. It's not their job to. It's your job to look at what they've made and take what you need from it to make the 3D asset. It looks kind of like this, and then it's just like, I want to say an overlay, but I don't think an overlay is going to give us enough brightness. I know what? No, that's probably fine. But I think that may even be too bright. I think we need a... My pen just like... Did you see that? My pen just like went off the screen. See, we've got like a tiny bit of white spot here. This part looks a little bit brighter. And then there's no brightness here. And then there's a little bit of a white spot over here. Like so. Then I want to turn this down. Something like that. That's a bit better. We're closer to what I'm looking for. I feel like I want this to come over here. I feel like I actually want this to maybe come above this. Oh, it's an overlay, so I won't sit above it, but it's fine. I kind of want to go for a tiny bit of a yellow as well. Too much, way too much. Very slight bit of yellow. Jesus Christ, Penny, you okay? Something like that, I think. Cool. This come up pretty well. We've got some extra detailing on this. I assume this part's going to be metal, so we've just kind of gone with the metal right now. We want some... If we look at... I'll just drag it onto my screen. We've got like patterns on here. I can make those patterns up and use them as alphas. I think it'll just be quicker. It's just... They kind of look blotchy. They just look like they're drawn by hand. So let's see if I can replicate that. I feel like I need this part to be thicker though. So let's find what layer I've got this in. Oh, it's in here. I was going to do Zbrush today, but now I'm just like distracted doing the texturing more. I think I'm distracted with doing the texturing more because now I actually have it unwrapped and stuff. I'm more comfortable with getting this side done. So what we want... So this is obviously... It's just a layer of metal. With a slight height on it, so I can actually just paint this. So I want to probably go just to the bottom of there, make it smaller, make it a bit more of a sharper one. Let's not change the size. There you go. Let's go here to here, and a little bit higher in here to here. Make sure that kind of aligns with the center point, which it pretty much does. And it's like slightly neaten up this edge here. Something like this. Now let's create another layer, and I think this one needs to be on top. And we need to black mask that. We don't actually need to change anything but height and color. What we want to do, probably, because it just looks like it's dented. I think what's supposed to be trying to do is it's dented in, and it's a darker color because it's engraved into that part, maybe. That's how I'm going to take it. So if we multiply that, I can then just have it look like it's an engraved material. And if I go to the height and go minus 0.1 or something, it should look like it's inside it. See that? If I actually turn up, we're only on 1K, right? If we turn up to 2K, we'll start being a bit more accurate with how we want the texture. If it wants to load, am I going crazy? Did I miss it? Okay, as you can see, look, way sharper. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna loosely follow this. So if we just make the shapes and then fill them in, so it's just like something like this with a circle. That's already wrong. Hold on a minute. Problem is, I'm not very good at free drawing, so it's like a circle here. We'll get that part first. It actually looks like it's slightly purple, which, with that said, we'll just like go to a bit of a purple and then grab that in more of a darker, more of a reddy purple. Sound like this. That looks good. I then want this to actually be a bit more purple itself. Now that might just be from the color. That's good. That is good. I think a tiny bit desaturated. Yeah, because that way it emphasizes this pink a bit more. A tiny bit more saturation. Maybe around there. Cool. Alright, so now let's just try to roughly get these shapes in. With my terrible free drawing skills. We'll go a slight lazy pen. Just to help me not mess it up. Cool. It's the first shape in. Let's just fill the center now. Something I can do in a minute, which I'll show you guys, is you can make a duplicate layer to make it look like it's got like an inner shadow, which will look kind of neat. So that also should be mirroring it on the other side. We don't want to mirror it to this side, because this side we can actually have it will need to be a unique texture anyway, or unique pattern. Cool, let's move over this part a little bit. Cool, that's our first part. Now I think the normals are a little too strong, so let's half that by going 0.5. There you go, just enough that it's got normals, but they're very faint. And like I said, when you're back here, you're probably not even going to notice all that extra detailing I'm putting in. I also think I want to make it slightly like that, so it blends in with the color of the back a little bit more. But yeah, if we come over here, you'll see it's doing a nice mirror over here for it too. What tablet do you use? I use an XP pen, 22-inch. I actually wouldn't preference it though. I think I actually used to prefer this one on my my lab. You know, like just one of the one's about screen on it. If you guys see, oh, my shoulder. Hopefully I won't break anything. Oh, I can't really show you. My camera's got a really short wire, but yeah, it's just like one I draw on that's just in front of me. But I do really like the ones in your lap as well. But this is a great one. I got it for £280. They have the XP Pen Pro and XP Pen E or something. Amazon. XP Pen 22. I think it's a 22-inch, right? Yes, they're a lot more expensive now. The problem is, like, what I find is as soon as the company gets a little bit more popular, which makes sense, the prices start skyrocketing a lot more. It has been about 4 years since I got this, though, so maybe it's just because of inflation as well. But as long as you get something where you've got a normal touch sensitivity and stuff like that, you're gonna have a good time mostly. Obviously, if you get a Cintiq Sank, you're going like you're going to like the best of the best. And despite what people say, like a good worker doesn't blame his tools or whatever, the better gear you get, the better results you will tend to find. It won't be a drastic improvement if you're already good at it. Like if you give a really, really good tablet artist a crappy tablet that still has touch sensitivity and everything, like pressure sensitivity, that's what I'm saying, trying to say, he'll still make something awesome. And if you give someone who's pretty bad at using tablets an amazing piece of kit, he'll still probably produce something that's not brilliant, you know what I mean? But it does help. I mean, there's a reason why even the big professionals will use more expensive gear. It's not just because they want to show off that they could buy expensive gear. It is because it does help. I think in 3D, because that's something that used to annoy me when things weren't free. I think in 3D, it used to bother me because if you had money, it was like an instant access to getting your stuff looking better. Because it was like in university when we were using, you know what, for this one, I'm actually just gonna just paint it from the inside out. In university, we didn't have access to Substance Painter, except from the people who were buying it themselves and coming into university and showing off how good their work looked. We were sitting there being forced to use Photoshop, which is significantly harder and you'll get way worse results. And it definitely felt like this other person, the people who were paying for it, found this kind of shortcut to make their work better because they just were able to afford Substance. Now, I say afford Substance. It wasn't expensive. We could have all afforded Substance, but it's very hard to convince yourself you want to buy something you have no idea how to use. But I remember it was a really heated discussion in our class about how it's, because some people were saying it's cheating using Substance. Now, it is not cheating. It is just better. It's quite frankly, it's just, especially if you're getting into being a texture artist, if you start off using Substance versus starting off using Photoshop, you're going to see results way faster using something like Substance Painter. I was going to say Photoshop then. Using something like Substance Painter. Now, obviously that depends on the person, but in most cases that's pretty much a fact. And they've got like a little bit underneath here. You know what, that means this part needs to give me a bit more room. Which means that needs to flatten out a bit more across here. I mean, I love Substance Painter, same way I love Unreal Engine. I think Unreal Engine helps out so much on any sort of the downfalls you can have as being an artist. Because like I've said a million times before, I'm not a very good artist. I am just I just know how to use a lot of tools. If you know how to use a lot of tools, you can make up for being a bad artist. Because I don't have the creativity like a lot of people have. Like when people say, oh, I sat there and I came up with an idea. I have that sometimes with materials. You know, I was out... I'll read what you write in a minute, Megapixel. I was out on my break... And I thought to myself, oh, I have an idea how I want to make a material. And I came home and I made it. But that's all very technical thinking. That's like, materials and shaders are just like, oh, I knew what pieces I wanted to slot together to make the shader work. Whereas when it comes to art, there's a whole different ball game. Because you need the creativity to make anything unique, and I don't have that creativity. When people say to me, oh, I thought about this and I got it down on paper and I drew it, I'm like, well, I don't have that. My brain doesn't think about these things. My brain's much more technical, so I will come back and I'll come up with these ideas on how to make something, but I won't come up with ideas on a unique idea. I've never quite had that spark in me, which is a shame. It's very cool to be able to do that, and I do think people who are able to do that. And don't get me wrong, it's obviously... You then need the skill on top of that to be able to get it on paper, which is so difficult. I respect artists who could do that so much. Like, it's so difficult to draw, full stop. So artists who can not only draw, but come up with their own unique ideas and then get them down on paper is just so cool to me. Looks like a half moon. Did you guys ever see the Jaffa Cake advert? Half moon, total eclipse. It's the teacher eating the Jaffa Cakes in front of the children. I'm actually gonna go find it now. Jaffa Cake advert. Now that advert is a throwback, right? Right? 11 years ago, when that's at least when it was uploaded.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, miss.
Full moon.
Full moon.
Half moon.
Half moon.
Get that close up, Jesus Christ. Man.
Total eclipse.
Total eclipse.
Good. Now, let's do it one more time. Full moon.
Full moon.
McVitie's Jaffa Cakes, deliciously self-centered.
Oh god, I remember when Jaffa Cakes were in a tub. Oh yeah! I didn't even think about that. What do you get? I don't ever buy Jaffa Cakes. What do they come in now? Are they just like in a... Are they in a tray? Like one of those plastic trays and then wrapped up? Is it a box now? I just don't buy Jaffa Cakes at all. Let me read your comments like... Anna Raffet, your comments like gone off the board. Oh, okay. Also, hello... Marmalade? Rito, okay. So that I had to say the brand matters for 3D, at least in my experience. Yeah, I think that's relatively true. Okay, so itching my beard with the pen. Problem here is this is 2K. Now you're gonna look at this asset from a little bit like far away anyway, so it probably won't matter. But if we turn this back to 1K, look at the quality drop. Blah. Oh, you've even got some really annoying noise there. But you're going to be viewing it from back here when it's rendered. So that's not going to matter. You'll actually have a bigger 3D space. Right? Sure, when you have it 2K, it may look a bit better from this distance. I'm not even going to notice. Now, that might actually convince me to turn up the normals a tiny bit. Because from further away, you're not going to see the normals. So maybe I will have it what I had it on. But we could do... Oh, I can't do it yet. I was going to say we could do the... in a shadow, but I can't do it yet because we need to do the other side. You want to do this last. Let's start from out and in, out then in. So we've got this shape around here. It's actually comes to probably about here. Any of you guys been watching Rick and Morty? Or watched it because it's finished this season now? Half moon, total eclipse. Okay, children, let's go again. Old adverts were my jam. Did you ever see like the rude? Was it Japanese mostly? Oh, did you ever see the Skittles one? Oh my god, that one was something. Too close. Further down. Get a better angle on it. It like comes up here. Comes over here. Oh god, it comes over here. See what I mean? I can't freehand very well. Yeah, it looks fine. Again, you're viewing this from so far away. I don't think I need to worry too much about it being like super nice detailed. That's just like a line here, a bit too big, but it's literally just a line. Oh, you know what? This actually comes down way further. It's way more like here. Windows updates really mess with display tabs and their ability to play nice with Zbrush, so you gotta rely on the tablet brand. So yeah, that's a really good point, to be honest. Oh, you know what's a really good game that I got really annoyed at in one of the modes was Inscription. Now, I still stand by what I said about one of the modes. And it's at least early before I started unlocking more to it. It felt so RNG. It was unreal. It was so frustrating. Because a lot of people think you should just lose in a roguelike game because of RNG, but that's not the case. A roguelike game, like Binding of Isaac, Dead Cells, Gunfire Reborn, I can't think of more on top of my head, but I love roguelike games. If I thought about it, I could probably think up loads, because I've played a lot. One thing that they all have in common is, yes, RNG comes into play, but it won't determine if you 100% win or lose, right? It'll just be a deterrent from winning or losing, or from winning. Like, you'll end up late game with really, really bad items, for example, so it becomes increasingly harder to win. In Inscription, it's a card-based game, and sometimes I'd go into a match and I'll just lose instantly. Thank you, Never Been Exist 669. And you'll just lose instantly when you go into Inscription sometimes. Now, I noticed the more I played, the less it was happening, and I think it may just be because I got really unlucky early on. But it did feel really, really bad. You can even set this to 4K if you really want, to really drive home the detailing, and then you can bring that back later. Like, if I was doing this... Oh, I'm lagging a little bit. Maybe I'll keep it at 2K for now. My computer's having a lot of struggle. It's not that high poly of a mesh and high texture resolution, so I don't know why it's taking this long. Come on, get that little notch done. I did just save it. If I really wanted to, I could close you and reopen you back up. Are you serious? I've set it back to 2K. Just revert back what you were trying to do. Really? Really? Jeez. PC, are you good, mate? My God, you are struggling. Bit here. It's like a weird shape that goes like bloop, bloop, bloop. Like that. Yeah, so if you're just doing this for a piece on your portfolio, you could just export it as 4K. A lot of people, which I don't necessarily agree with, but what a lot of people do is they won't even say what the texture resolution is. They'll just pop it on there, go look at the low poly, and use like an 8K texture. Without saying in the description or anywhere how high resolution they actually went with the with it, and that doesn't seem to be frowned upon. So I mean, if it's not really frowned upon and people do it, why not? My RAM is actually way higher. Was that what was automatically set as? It was actually 240. Wait, is that actually a thing? You can set your RAM to a different. I just assumed it ran at wherever it was. Oh my God, it's actually huge. That comes all the way, like straight across, straight rounded and across, down, round, over, up. Something like that. We'll keep it like that. That's fine. Again, this is the details. You're probably not going to care much. And I am viewing it from a very specific angle from the image. So these shapes are probably incorrect anyway, because I should take into consideration the angle we're looking at them from, and I'm not really. Needs to be a bit less like that. A bit more like that. A bit more like this. Cool. And that's kind of the shapes we're going for. That looks pretty good. Now, I could do a slight blur. If we wanted to make it look like that. Slightly, oh God, 0.05, like slightly going into the difference. Well, I thought you would. Hold on a minute. Is it just because it's too low res? 0.1. There you go, like that. So it slightly sort of fades more. And then, like I said, I could do a duplicate. Now, I want to make a folder. Pop it into the folder. Have the folder have the same copy mask, same mask on it that I've been basically painting. like so. And then I believe all I gotta do is blur. And you get a deeper color in the center and a lighter color on the edge. I think we want it to be reverse of that anyway. So now if I invert the mask, I think... That's not going to work, is it? Not the way I think it's going to. Maybe it will. Where's the invert mask? Oh, it does. Nice. So if you invert the mask, you'll get that effect, which is exactly what we wanted. That was a real big... a real big guess to if that would work, but that worked basically exactly how I wanted it. And now you get that nice... ooh, that shape did not come out as well as I thought it would. I mean, from a distance... nah, I need to clean that up. Problem with doing it this way is you need to clean things up. Like, I can't clean them up now. I have to go redo them. I just want these edges to be a bit smoother. Bring it out more here. And down like this and then around it. Yeah. Here this looks wrong. Oh, here looks pretty bad as well. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it looks fine now. Got like a weird thing here, but I don't think we can fix that. We can have a duplicate. Yeah, in the bias. I did not know that. Invert mask. And you control how much of a fade you want. Then we could also turn this up and down to also control how much of a fade we want. So we probably want it to be like here, much more subtle. I think we also want this to be a bit weaker, like so. And I feel like the height's too much, even though I said I want it to be big. Because the problem is, when you're far away, you're not even going to see that height. But I guess the shadow we're putting in is going to emphasize that more anyway. Whoops. Right. Like, if we were to just get rid of this... Oh, you know what? The shadow does quite a lot of work. Oh, wait, this has normal maps on it. That's why it looks like it's really overemphasized. Ah, so we'll just leave it on the shadow, right? I think that looks fine. And you can turn that up. And, yeah, you know what? Turn that up. We'll have a bit stronger. Nice. We've got these nice little patterns on it. One thing I also want to do... One thing he says is grab you. So I want a shadow to be like slightly on here. So let's turn everything off but color. Do a that one. Do a filter. Do a blur. So it's a multiply. And then we don't want it to have this part on it. So I'll bring that to you. So if we grab you, copy mask, grab a folder, black mask that, paste into there. Cool. And then we invert that. We should drop the shadow just there. And set it to multiply, and we've made a shadow drop for it. Exactly what I wanted. Then, if you really want, you can turn this up and down to increase how far that shadow goes. If you want a sharp shadow and you want it to come out far, you can then just add a levels to that one. And you can sharpen, I can't remember which way it is. There you go, you can sharpen up that drop. What does this way do? Okay, not what I was thinking. Or you could actually go in between and try to get like a perfect balance. Oh my god, please. But what I tend to do is just do what I'm doing here. Sharpen it. Come back to your blur and use that blur to say how far away you want to go. So if I want like a very sharp one, which I kind of want, not as sharp as we've got, but I kind of want something like that. So a little bit sharper. And we can bring that out just like that. Turn it down a tad. Jesus. Cool. Because it looks a bit floaty right now. Now, some stuff like this would bake, right? Yeah, that's good. Some stuff like this would bake. Oh, you know what? Less levels. Actually, more blur. Yeah, stuff like this would actually bake when you're doing a high poly, but I don't have a high poly for this part, so I'm sort of just manually doing those bits. We've got some really annoying baking issues like around here, but I could probably fix that. I just by changing some of the settings for baking, but I'm not going to for now. I'm not going to. So we could emphasize some. So this is where you're mixing generated stuff and painted stuff, right? So if we grab one of our stylized woods, for example, you'll see we get these lines get made there. Figure that's cool. We got all this edge where we get all these like ambient occlusion lines. But when I'm looking at this, I'm noticing like small bits. I'm noticing like black bits here. Now that may be where things have rubbed against it, causing those to happen, like dirt marks. You got black bit here. You got more highlighted parts here. You got a really highlighted part here. Now I could say I could just leave it. Oh, not that one. That's the realistic textures. I could just leave it. Hold on a minute. Have I? Undo. There you go. So, yeah, I could just leave it and say that's fine. Or, because we've already got these things on it. In fact, that's too much. We kind of want to make those a bit more faded anyway. Don't know which one it is. That one. Like, I want that to be way more subtle in the areas it's coloring over. I also want it to be a bit more yellow. Let's go change that. See, the problem is doing an overlay, you'll get like yellow that looks more like this. So yeah, I think it's soft color, hard color. And then you go something like this. You get that slight yellow tint, and then you turn this down. Let's give you something more like this. Now, I actually want it to be a bit more tightened up as well. A little less contrast, a little tighter. Give us something more like that. Very, very subtle. Because if we look, it is very, very subtle. Now, this is what you'll do if you're trying to replicate somebody else's art rather than do it your own way. I like really thick lines and stuff. That's just me. So yeah, because that is just me, it comes down to me throwing away the way I would do it and make it look the way that they would do it. So now we've got some really really dense lines. We've got like one that comes here to here. Now these just look like straight lines like this. It comes over to here. Now we can have if we turn the brush up and the hardness down, we can manually, Jesus Christ, make the brush bigger, but not that much bigger. We can then slightly fade those edges like this and like this. And then we can set that to probably an overlay would work. I'll have a look. No, we definitely want the same thing we had going on down there. So if we set it more yellowy. Oh, you know what? That kind of works. What does a hard light look like? And then turn that down. Maybe a little bit less. A little bit more. Yeah. That's I don't know if this is gonna work. I was gonna do a very subtle blur. It's already quite low resolution, so it might not work. No, it doesn't work. We'll just keep it the way it was then. Turn that down a tad. Maybe here. I actually need this to come over a bit more. Like so. That looks good. Then the other one looks like it's just white. So you basically want to grab it here. Now, this all comes down to lighting, right? I'm basically painting on our lighting manually. But in certain areas, this isn't going to matter too much when I move the lighting around, because you could just say it's more of a the color variation of the asset. But it is one of those things where lighting isn't going to do it good enough anyway, that you kind of want to emphasize these areas anyway. So set it to a overlay. Set it to a pure white. No, definitely not. Set it to a hard. Turn you down. Okay, soft then. Yes. I like what we're looking for. I like how low resolution this is because we're so close, but it's fine. Again, I would do it in 4K, but... Oh, that's definitely... One, that's coming off way too far here. Definitely more over here. We're gonna have a slight blur on it. That's definitely better already. Yeah. And then we'll probably just set it to a normal, to be honest. Grab the color from the other screen. Something like that. That's good. Now we want these like dark lines we got going on, which I could just do at the top because we don't want any of the other lines coming over it. And these ones are basically just got like one that goes. I don't really know what these lines are. Like I said, we got like one that goes sort of across here. Got one that goes from sort of here to here. And you got one that goes from here to here. Now we'll fade off some of the ends. So, and we'll set them to just a really dark multiply, I'd say. And make sure, oh, you know what? I don't know if I made sure to do that, but you should make sure to turn these down and set these down. Then I'm going to actually manually turn this down just a tad, but very, very subtle, I think. Blur. 2.1. Yeah. You get those slight dark lines in there too. I actually think I want to thicken this one up over here. This one is pretty thick. Extra thick. There you go. And then we'll slightly burr off those edges again to make it look like it gets like a little thicker. No, just leave it like that. It's fine. Cool. So we've got those slightly thicker lines. It's actually longer. Yeah, it goes all the way to the end. What am I doing? It actually goes like all the way from here to here. That's very thick. Jesus. It goes like this, and then at some areas we'll just take a little bit of view and we'll just take away, do some stroke opacity, take away some of those areas, something like that. That's fine. And then this a little bit weaker, just in some parts. Sweet, cool. Now we've got some of that extra detailing that we don't necessarily need. I'm just doing it for the sake of it at this point. Cool. Looking very good. One thing I want to do now is get back to our word. So this is one trap you can get yourself into. It's just taking a really long time in all these little details. When you're working on certain assets, you obviously don't need too many like insane details, because you'll get to the point where if it's an asset that a character's just going to walk past in like 2 seconds, it may not be worth that invested time. But when it comes to your own personal work, as long as you still plan on finishing your work, I'm actually going to change this one a little bit. It's not too bad. I'm going to... Is it turn up here? No, see, it's got this blotchiness. We want to get rid of that, which is texture. Yes, we want to get rid of texture, and we just want to bring through those lines. Awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Turn down that contrast. Turn up that blur. Or down that blur? Down that blur? Maybe a 0.1. More like so. Yes. It's actually got some dark random lines too, so I could actually do a duplicate of that. So multiply and see what I can get. Cool. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. If we take it down just enough, we'll get some black lines coming in. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Yep. If you look, it's got like random black lines, right? Random black line. All I need to do is blur it. No, not blur it. All I need to do is blur in here. Contrast it. Turn that up. And we have some of those black thick lines coming through. Cool. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Sweet. Getting closer and closer to what we're looking for. The wood grain isn't exact to what the concept is, but I think the colouring and stuff, the variations, is definitely coming along. Now the metal at the front. Now this could be improved in so many different ways, but I think lighting is going to be one of the biggest parts of this that we're not going to pay attention to. So I'll This was very quickly textured, so I'll fix out some of these texturing issues. So first of all, the scratches are not very good. I'm going to get rid of them entirely. The little spots I got going on, not very good. Wow, where are they? So again, we have a problem here where some of these lines are darker, not lighter. So if we make a duplicate of this and do what we just did earlier, so multiply, turn the color down. Wait, was that the wrong one? I mean, I kind of like that. I don't really know what I did. Ah, I see. I mean, what I wanted to do was more like this, right? Alright, we're going to set to a multiply. We'll turn that up. Doesn't quite work the way I'd want it to. I mean, I liked what it did earlier, to be honest. I think that was really cool. Like that, and maybe turn that down a little bit. Look at this like dark color coming across. That seems to work. We need a spray tool. I don't even know if there is one. We also need the dark areas to be much more purple. In fact, we need the whole thing to be a lot more purple. Yeah, that's definitely closer. Then we can manually do some blotchy areas where we feel like it gets darker and lighter. Like definitely here and here. Definitely here. Definitely got some lightness here. Oh, right. It's like, what's it doing? Probably same here. Probably got some up here, which this part needs to be cut off. Yeah, that's probably got a little bit here, like so. And this part looks good, but I want to sort of get rid of the center bit. Cool. One thing I definitely think you need to do when doing gradient blends and stuff is you need to visualize what it's going to look like after blurring it as you're doing it, like I was just doing there. We overlay this. We want to make this, I think it's a deeper purple, to be honest. Is it? Nah, it's definitely not. I want to talk about. It's definitely just like a light. If it is a slightly tinted, it's like just a blue. Cool, and I'm going to turn that down. Nah, not even blue. Just want to line it up. Cool, so we've got these like much more blown out areas. A couple along here. Cool. Now, again, we can manually do some over-exaggerated white lines, where it's going to be like, okay, that's way too strong. It's on 15%. Hold on a minute. Oh. The roughness is changing and everything. I was going to say, that's insanely strong. There you go. That's what I look for. Much more subtle. Yes, so I can go around some of these edges where it's clearly got really, really, like, sharp, reflective bits on it. I think with those, where are those coming from? These. We want to turn these down drastically. In fact, whatever's causing this white line, I think it's fine. I don't even think I need this. I mean, having that slight exaggeration is good. There's some there. We've got some to go around these guys. These guys. And we've got some thick ones to go along the top. Here to here. Do that, and then we're going to do this and bring it in a tiny bit like that, so it gets thinner as it comes down. Same along here, like you've got like little bits here, it's like exaggerated. Set it to a overlay. No, I'm just going to set it to a normal. But we're going to slightly blur it. So I turn this down. Adjust this so we haven't got any of these coming through. Yeah, it's a very, very slight blur. Some extra lighting on there. The top has some really weird lighting on it, but I don't know what this part is. Like this blotchy bit I got here. That's that. What's causing that? Oh, interesting. Oh, I don't even need it that high. That's fine. It's like here. Slight blur, I'd say. Like that, so we get some lighting around the head. I want to make this definitely a deeper blue. Wow, it's not even giving it color, is it? But it is. That's the blue I'm looking for. I just need it to be weaker. Maybe up here. There you go. Then we tone this down. To that point. I guess this we also need to set to a slight blue. Looking good, looking good. I definitely think so. This inner one needs to be a bit stronger. Take up a little bit less room. Just take that down like a bigger thingy, but yeah, definitely. Oh, is that like the lowest it can go? Wow. Definitely do something like that then. So the skull isn't quite accurate to what we've got going on in the other thing, but oh well. The problem is I want the skull to be universally used in 4 different spots, so making it too unique is going to cause issues. I might need to bring out the... It's a separate object, so I can. It's not a big deal. But I need to bring out the cheekbones way more. Oh, I should have saved it. There you go. Cool, match the color a little bit more. Oh, I don't need any of those. What's going on? Let's see here. There you go. What's causing... The color there is definitely more accurate. Yeah, that needs to match that, but that is... It definitely needs to be lighter, right? Lighter, I think. I also need like only one of these layers. Like that one. Need that one, need it pulled back. We're not getting that sharpness here at all. Is this even baked? What's going on? And the eye, like the nose is supposed to be really sharp. If we come into the high poly, the nose is pretty sharp. But that's not really replicating onto here at all. I don't see that sharpness at all. So did it bake it or didn't it? Skull high poly. Yeah, we'll do a quick re-export just in case. Let's go high poly. We'll call it a day soon because I'm going to have dinner very, very soon. Yeah, we'll bake and we'll see what happens. Did I accidentally export the low poly out or something? Oh, did I save it? When was the last time I clicked save? I said about it crashing too. Surely my brain told me to click save. How long ago did I not click save? The skull's not even here. What? I thought I clicked save earlier because I said I didn't mind if it crashed. Data recovery. Autosave. File, recent. Discard. Okay, that's not that one. That was a lot of work for me to lose that. I'd be very upset. So it says there is an autosave. Where's it? Autosave configure. Do I say plugins create backups of the... Wait, plugins? Wait, is there an autosave? I swear I clicked save at some point. Did I not? So this is paint. Where are recovery files stored? Okay. User. Users, documents. Why don't we go to admin? See, I don't have an admin directory. Well, I think I'll call it there. And I'm going to try to figure out how to recover my autosave, if there is one, off stream. Hopefully I can get it back. That'd be really nice. And yeah, I will catch you guys next time when I have hopefully restored my autosave. Bye-bye.